In this video, I want to talk about the battle of the extraterrestrial stewards on Roshar that you may have entirely missed when reading the Stormlight Archive. So get ready, because this is a ride. And this video will include spoilers for all of the Stormlight Archive, along with Mistborn and Warbreaker. So let's get into it. The two stewards that I'm talking about are Gary and Axwindeth. And if you're going right now, who? Let me break it down. Gary is the palace steward of the Kholinar house. He is described as a white-bearded man with too many rings on his fingers. And we see him particularly in Navani's prologue, where he's particularly anxious on the night that King Gavilar is assassinated. Now, up front, I think anyone in the Stormlight Archive with too many rings on their fingers that they're fiddling with are almost certainly terracemen from another planet, Scadrial. And they employ, through those rings, a type of magic system from that planet known as Ferakami, and rely on the rings to store knowledge. So up front, I'm pretty sure that Gary is a terraceman from Scadrial masquerading as a steward in House Kholinar. The other undercover Scadrian agent is Axwindeth, and she's even more mysterious. She's also a member of the Kholinar retinue, including as they discover the listeners on the Shattered Plains, and she's also described as having rings on her exposed hands, which almost certainly is what gives her the ability to speak to the listeners in their tongue. And this is where it gets really interesting, because while I think they're from the same planet and from the same people within the same planet, I think Gary and Axwindeth are working at cross purposes, each trying to undermine the other. So we know that Axwindeth has been working with Gavilar, potentially to try to restore the Everstorm and the Desolations. She is the character that gives Venli a red gemstone that contains Ulim, one of the Voidspren, who partners with Venli to try to restore the Desolations, and matches up with Gavilar's goals and the Sons of Honor's goals that we see in the flashbacks for all 5 of the books. And we know Gary is trying to stop that. Ulim explains that Axwindeth has been at one point discovered by another of her kind in the palace, which can really only be Gary, and therefore she decides to flee the planet. But unfortunately, this victory over Axwindeth that Gary has is short-lived, and I think that we see Gary's murder in Urithuru when Lift discovers an old Alethi man who has tan skin on his fingers, some areas with lighter skin, suggesting that he used to wear rings. So the question is, why? Who are these two people working at cross purposes with each other, and why? And we know that there are 2 other elements from Scadrial who are also working at cross purposes on Roshar with each other: the Ghostbloods and Harmony's agents. So could Axwindeth and Gary, respectively, be essentially waging a proxy war on behalf of either Harmony or Kelsier and the Ghostbloods on Roshar? And so I find this fascinating, because there could be a proxy war playing out before our very eyes. And this is also why I love Brandon Sanderson, because I think there's layers and layers upon his books. And I think that as we look to the second set of the series, that interconnection between what's happening on Roshar and what's happening in Scadrial will become more and more intertwined. And the 2 stewards, Gary and Axwindeth, are the first people where that really plays out in practice. So what do you think? Do you have any other ideas about what's happening between these 2 characters? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. This is one that I feel like I haven't fully unraveled in my mind, so I love to hear comments below. And if you like this video, please hit like and please subscribe as I continue to post Cosmere content. Thanks, everyone.